Hi everybody, it's Mr. Meyer. This week we are going to focus on a brief introduction to the elements of music through some demonstration with my guitar, bass guitar, acoustic guitar. I want to thank everybody who's been participating in the meets the last little bit and completing the work for media literacy as well as dance at home. I know it's not the same as when we're at school. But this is the way that we grow, we look, and we learn how to learn online. It's a little bit different. I know it's not the same as school. A couple things I just want to mention this week is there are still many people who have not joined any of the meets, nor have they completed any of the work. I highly recommend that you look back on your teacher's page on my website, look back at anything that you've missed. Please complete this work and hand it in to me through the Submit Assignment button. There's a video on the main page of my website that shows you how to do that. Report cards are coming soon. If I don't have any work, I cannot assess you. That's just the way it is, everybody. So this week, what we're going to do is, if you have not been completing work, like I said, go back through my website, go back through your teacher's page, finish the work. If there's something that says discuss in a meet, but you've missed that meet, submit it in the My Learning section of my website. Even if you missed it, you can still catch up on that. For everybody else who's caught up, done all the work, this week is going to be a little bit of a introduction to music. So in dance, we looked at the elements of dance, but right now we're also going to be looking at the elements of music. So a lot of these are review for a lot of people, especially people who I've taught for the last few years. But let's use this video just to remind ourselves what they are and actually what they mean. So I'm going to go through all 6 of them with my guitar here. And I have some other instruments that I'm going to be using as well. The first one we're going to be looking at today is pitch. So pitch talks about high notes and low notes, not loud and quiet. So some people say that sounds really high, but we're looking at high pitch. So here's some examples of some high pitch. High pitched. All right, now on a guitar, lower pitch would be a little bit more down here. And on a bass guitar, it's even lower pitched. So that's pitch. High notes. Now, it doesn't necessarily need to be like super piercing. That's something we'll talk about a little bit later with timbre. So again, guitar, on a guitar, high pitch is up here. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do a scale. I'm going to do a scale lower pitched and a scale higher pitched. So I'm going to do the higher pitch scale first. So because my guitar is tuned into a E flat standard tuning, I'm going to do an E flat major scale. So, all right, now if I do the same scale lower pitch, it sounds like this. All right, and I could do that on the bass guitar as well. So here's that major scale in a lower pitch, another octave lower than my lowest on my guitar. So you can see the difference between higher pitch and lower pitch. This instrument, bass guitar, definitely lower pitched. Now, the next one we're going to look at is texture and harmony. And for texture and harmony, I'm going to make the guitar cleaner sounding. So, I've got that sound. So what I'm doing here is I'm playing chords. And chords are a bunch of notes put together to make essentially a chord. And we have our happy chords, like our major chords, sound happy. Then we have our sad minor chords. All right, when we put different notes together, it creates chords. And often what we do is we have at least 2, sometimes 3, sometimes even more notes make the chord. So here's the most basic chord for guitar, and this is called a 5th chord because we have our root note and we have the 5th note in that scale. Put those together. Single notes. Cool. When we add these notes together, it creates a chord. And if we just do a triad, which is 3 notes, it's a little bit more full. We have our, as opposed to just going, we have like that. So that's harmony. That's putting a whole bunch of notes together to create a sound. Duration. So duration is another word kind of for our note values that we talked about at the start of the year, how long we're holding notes. But what it also is talks about the tempo of the song. So much like in dance, we have time as an element. This is very similar, duration in music. So I'm gonna play, in this case, the E flat pentatonic scale. And I'm gonna play it at I'm gonna say a slower speed. And then go back down. All right, now that's, I would consider slow. I'm gonna increase the tempo. I just played one faster than the other. All right, the next one I want to look at is timbre. So right now I have this guitar sounding nice and clear, clean sounding. All right, but with a couple little clicks on my computer here, I can change the sound of this guitar. And let's do this one, for example, kind of the same tone we had going on earlier. Say it's a little more fuzzy, a little scratchier sounding. And what else we can do is we can put a few different effects on it. It'll give us a little bit of a different sound. So in this case, what do we got? We got this one here. This is the sound I always use for when we do Lord, I Need You at school. So we see it echoey, some delay on the guitar. So when I do the lead for that song. Kind of just fills it out a little bit. Some reverb on it. There's one other one here that I want you to hear. This one's kind of cool here. So here's a bit of a different sound as well. So it might sound wavy to you. We use terms to describe the tone of the guitar here, and this is what's called timbre. Now the next element I want to talk about is dynamics. Now I grabbed my acoustic guitar for this one, purely for the reason of, back a long time ago, we didn't have all this technology to make things louder. Nowadays, if I want to turn up my electric guitar, I just turn up the volume on my guitar amp or my computer here, and like on the actual guitar, there's a volume switch. But back before, on pianos, acoustic guitars, saxophones, trumpets, we didn't have like electric versions of that. So the only way to get louder was to play it louder, to hit it harder. So, for example, we have our really soft piano, what we call piano. It means soft in Italian. All right. The guitar player wanted to make it louder. He or she couldn't turn it up. They had to play. As opposed to going, they wanted it quiet. And in music, we talk about kind of 3 main dynamics. And there's more than just 3, but the main ones we look at: piano, like I mentioned earlier, soft, mezzo forte, kind of medium, and then forte is louder. So I like to use the acoustic guitar to demonstrate this, because the only way I can make this instrument louder is if I play louder. I strum harder. Not necessarily faster. Now remember, don't get those mixed up. Doesn't necessarily mean faster. It means harder, softer, things like that. There's one other element that we'll look at, and we'll focus on that a little bit more next week in the meets, and that's going to be form. And form talks about the sections of the song. We have our verse, we have our chorus, things like that. And like I said, we'll talk a little bit more about that in the meets next week in real time. Have a great week, everybody.